Joining Elise on a panel this afternoon is the Wing Commander, Commanding Officer of TOCU, Operational Conversion Unit. TOCU conducts operational conversion training for fighter pilots to fly the F-35A. Jordan, previously an F-18A pilot and is a fighter combat instructor, Top Gun equivalent. Roll the music. His nickname is Junior. Would you please welcome Wing Commander Jordan Sander. Either one. Might take the rest of the afternoon to get through this. 81 Wing operates the F-35A, the F-18A, the Williamtown and Tyndall. 82 Wing operates the F-18F, the EA-18G Growler at Amberley. 78 Wing operates the Hawk 127 jet trainer and the PC-21 Ford Air Control, Williamtown and Perth. Previously was the CEO of 3 Squadron, FA-18A fighter pilot. His nickname can't be repeated here. Would you please welcome Air Commodore Tim Alsop. Tim, welcome along. Elise, welcome to you, and Junior, welcome to you. Elise, I'll start with you. We've all been affected by COVID and whatever. How has this disease or pandemic affected the Air Force?
I think more broadly, this is definitely working. I think depending on which elements and areas that you are in the Air Force really depends on how and the significance of it. I guess for us and the transition that we've been trying to achieve this year, it's meant that the majority of our immediate close workforce is still going into the office every day and doing what we need to do to get things moving in preparation to have F-35 come aboard at the end of this year. So some of our supporting agencies though have had more flexibility and the ability to work from home. And so I guess they've obviously embraced that as much as they can to protect themselves and their family.
Jordan, I suppose difficult for you, given the fact that your pilots now are in the midst of F-35 training. So how difficult has that been, given the tyranny of distance and not allowed to fly between the United States and Australia?
For our pilots, all of our flying is done at Williamtown. But for 2SU specifically, the transition to F-35 for Air Force was considered fairly essential. So around the workplace itself, we've had to apply a risk managed approach where we adhere to everything where we can, and where we can't, because it's simply we can't do our mission, then we just apply the principles of risk management to those sorts of processes. But for probably the impact to F-35 has been, we're still standing up, so there's still a lot of people coming into 2SU, particularly to our pilot fit facility, which fits all of our, that will fit all of our pilots with a lot of their flight equipment. We're getting new simulators coming to the building, and so those people that travel are mainly contractors. That's challenging for them because they've got all the quarantine in different countries and requirements, and that's put a lot of stress on everybody, the Air Force and on our contractors. And I would say for the F-35 ferries, so there's still F-35s come in. Approximately, we do one every quarter. That's challenging as well because now we're moving through the United States. So that's a lot of risk to our people because it's, to be frank, that's a lot more risk of COVID in the United States, as well as all the quarantine and complexities of moving from state to state within the United States to then move those aircraft all the way back to Australia.
Tim, I should imagine it's had a massive effect on the IOC and the FOC. The IOC is getting the F-35s up, capable of going to war, and the FOC being fully capable, right out to its maximum capabilities. How difficult has that been to achieve either of those?
That's a great question, Mike. So you're talking about milestones that we've put into the plan, that have been in the plan for a long time, that basically signify waypoints in our journey. And this is a journey that is going to go for decades. So they're sort of interesting points, but they're not the destination. So the start of the year, we needed to stop and really think things through for a number of weeks. And we did. Anyone who lives near the base would notice things went a little bit quieter for a while. And we basically took a knee and had a look at the entire plan, and then what does COVID need or mean to us? What are the essential elements that we really had to achieve still? And things like, Junior's team going to the States to pick up the next tranche of aircraft. You can't achieve any milestones without actually having the pieces of kit here. So amazingly detailed planning went into that, and in fact, one of his, I still tell a story to other people that the group that went over to do that, one of the guy leading it is a young officer who was given the task, just grab some jets and bring them back. But COVID basically started overtaking the world as they were in execution, and it turned into, I think, a 2-month event. And at each step of the way, they had to pause and just reassess how to take the next step, do it safely, make sure that we were doing it in accordance with the all the regulations from the COVID task force, and that we weren't bringing undue risk to Australia. But to see the development and see the leadership from these guys and girls in their early mid-20s in some cases to adapt, and they came back almost different people. It was really quite incredible.
Elise, how difficult has it been from your end of being able to not only change from one aircraft to the state-of-the-art new aircraft as far as engineering? Obviously, you'd love to be able to get your hands on the aircraft to understand it totally. Has it been a really difficult process for your department?
Yeah, I think for the maintenance guys, they've embraced the challenge, absolutely. What a wonderful opportunity to be involved in something, and it is just so different, compared to even our classic Hornet. Or we've got a lot of our workforce that have come from other areas of Air Force, for example, and they've worked on the P3 aircraft, which is, they're just completely different in philosophy. But for them, there are challenges. It's a very automated system. The jet will tell you what's wrong with it. And so that can come sometimes with a mix of awe and, wonderful excitement, but also sometimes comes with frustration because, it's not like they can just plug the box in and work it out. They've got a computer telling them, and they have to understand how that actually works. So, yeah, philosophically, it's been hugely different. But yeah, it's been a wonderful thing to watch as our workforce has grown. So yeah, it's been great.
Jordan, from your aspect, I suppose it's again a totally different process. You've gone from a 2-seater to be able to do a lot of your training into a 1-seater. How more difficult has that process been to be able to bring them up to speed for the F-35s?
It's difficult. I would say it's different, and I would say the big differences to this platform and the 5th generation is probably just the improvements in simulation. So when you look at what we have with the classic Hornet simulator and what you can do in that, and you look at what we can achieve in the F-35 simulator and the advances in that sort of area, that's fundamental to this aircraft being a single-seat only aircraft and being able to teach new people to fly it. So I really put it down to the quality of the simulation I think that's available. And in fact, when I take pilots on their first flight, I really focus on just getting them to the aircraft. And I say, I'm going to get you to the aircraft and talk you through, Alice and the F-35 systems designed for the aircraft and help you put your gear on and help you make sure you're strapped in properly. And I said, from there, it's going to be exactly like your simulator ride. So the simulator is really, really good, and it's key to training in a single-seat aircraft.
What are the fundamental differences between the 18 and the 35?
I say in a 4th generation fighter, I think that fighter pilots challenges, first of all, the systems. I think the systems are not well integrated and were never designed to be integrated. So you might have a radar system which is designed for tracking air targets or surface targets. You've got a radar warning receiver which is listening for electromagnetics that the enemy may have. You've got ABMs and those sorts of things, people talking to you, as well as data links and information. And in the 4th generation fighter, I believe that the 4th generation fighter pilot is more of a sensor operator, which consumes a lot of their time. And I think what the 5th generation has brought is not just the advancement in those systems, but the integration of those systems now and the computing power that allows that integration to occur, so that I believe that when you step into the F-35 and into a 5th generation aircraft, you're more of a tactician. So you're not a sensor operator. You can feel that you can sit back, you can look at the picture that the aircraft's telling you, to use an F-35 term, what fusion's telling you, and then make the decisions about what you want to do. And it's pretty rewarding from that point of view. It's nice to be a tactician and not a sensor operator.
Tim, it sounds just a massively exciting project coming out here, but just having a chat to you before we started the panel, there's some massive opportunities, and you are going to require so many companies, I should imagine, throughout the Newcastle and Hunter Valley and indeed throughout Australia, to be able to assist you in the maintenance, not only when you get them on deck here, but the maintenance of these aircraft for years to come.
Yeah, that's right. It's it is a game changer the way the F-35 enterprise, for want of a better word, plugs into the Australian national base, and if I look at my role is to take all of Air Combat Group, about 1,800 guys and girls, and do the end-to-end training, the preparation for operations, and that's everything from taking the output of our Perth flying training, taking some select people and then putting them through fighter school out here, Perth, and then here. I think I just saw Acco over the back there, who leads that team, and then they go off to their different types of aircraft. The challenge is that I need to take the humans through to a point where they are fully combat ready. And the humans are not just the pilots, it's everything. You can't do this, you can't do anything without every single little piece of the puzzle. So a squadron is normally about 180, 200 people. And each one of them does a role, to be trite, if the wheel nuts aren't on the wheel, the aeroplane doesn't go anywhere. And then to be prepared in all the different jobs we might be asked to do by government, so that when the air commander rings me and says, "Hey, there's a job on, I need you right now," we're ready to go. Now, a key part of that is our maintenance and logistics, a huge logistics tail that goes with that. And I've never seen a system where more opportunity exists, because the laydown of F-35 across the world is huge. The numbers are growing everywhere. People are realising how great this thing is, and there's new countries coming onto this program all the time, and this innovative global supply system. So Australia just doesn't have a warehouse full of stuff. We have an interim warehouse, and we have a global supply chain, so that we're all sharing. And it actually, the idea there being, you've got efficiencies of scale, and we've got a lot more stuff in the system ready to go. I guess my challenge to you is that the closer or the more of that we take on here, the more I can be prepared, because I don't have to send widgets further away to get fixed. And I know that this is part of the plan. It's organically part of the F-35 enterprise, is that our nation will be part of that global supply chain. And so I will celebrate every time I hear an Australian company take another part of that, then I can do my job easier. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. And obviously there's some great opportunities to everyone listening here this afternoon. So, Elise, coming back to all the departments lining up together, the integration with the defence industry obviously has got to be paramount to this whole project.
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually got a great example at the moment at the really, really low level, like right on our floor. We have an aircraft where we've got some assistance, in location from LM. We've combined that team with BAE, and some of those guys are in the room here today with our own military technicians as well. And honestly, it's been the best advert for how a combined defence industry and Air Force organisational team can work. There's probably, in the heart of the team, probably, I guess, maybe 8 to 10 of them, plus with some other layers of support from the different support agencies. But, it has been amazing to watch, and it is really, really successfully coming off. So.
Jordan, with your pilots, we're obviously, and talking again to Adam and a couple of other people prior, that at this stage in the training techniques, Australia is leading the rest of the world. So much so, are you thinking of being able to devise specific training for your pilots, more so than in a group mixed with pilots from all over the world? Are you wanting to bring that system home, if you like?
I think what you're getting at is maybe overseas, and particularly in the USAF, they've got a lot of other platforms. So they're transitioning people from A10s and F-15s and F-16s and F-22s and F-15Es. And so, I would say that their training caters for that. And so in Australia, we're transitioning people mainly from F-18 of all variants. And so we're certainly able to tailor that to be probably, I don't know about better is the right word, but certainly it's efficient as well, as efficient as it can be, where the challenge for the transition right now, it's all workforce. So maintenance is probably the biggest challenge in the maintenance workforce transition, but on the pilot side, there's only so much throughput out of this training unit that 2SEU can have. And so we need to get up to maximum really, really quick and put out the quantity of pilots so that when we get to 77 and 75 squadron transition, that those squadrons can stand up. So I think what we've done is be able to hone it and trim it and find a good balance between the quantity that we put out with the quality of pilot.
Tim, I get the general feeling, and we're probably moving away from the F-35 a little bit, but a general feeling within the Air Force these days, it's more of a business than an armed service in some aspects, with the wonderful addition of so many women within the RAF itself. You are an integrated force. It's more of a company than hierarchy and down the traps.
I would say we've spent a lot of time looking at the business world, through academia and trying to take the best parts, the best practice from all the spheres, so that particularly if we look at applying it to the governance of doing combat, we can't afford to waste time. We can't afford to waste money. We can't be spinning in circles because our processes aren't correct, and we're not checking ourselves and setting achievable targets and making sure that we know what it is we're trying to get after. We could probably talk for hours about how we've done that over the past couple of years to end up with what is really a seamless series of directives, right from the national strategic guidance, which is very contemporary now, right through defence headquarters down to these guys and the people actually doing air combat on the ground, so that really everything that anyone does should be directly linking back to that Defence of Australia mission. And the reason I shy away from saying we're becoming like a company. No, we're not. We're there for a very specific purpose, with a very hard edge, without apologising for that. But we have to do it efficiently and effectively, because then we can spend more time concentrating on that sharp end.
Have you got to be combat ready every second of the day, 365?
Air Combat Group, yeah, absolutely. So therein lies the beauty or the excitement of our challenge, and my responsibility to the Air Commander is that throughout this very rapid and enormous change that we're going through. I mean, this is the most ambitious and the largest air combat transition in living memory in the RAF. We've had US colleagues look at us and we've said, yeah, it's ambitious, and they've said, no, it's insane. But again, we're small, we're agile, we can do this. But throughout that entire process, we've got to be ready to go, as I say, fight tonight.
Elise, what's the best part about being in the RAF?
I don't know. I've actually been pretty lucky. I've had some wonderful experiences. I think for me, it's the people that I work with, to be honest. So I joined for a sense of adventure and to do something different. The irony that I didn't want to sit behind a desk. I spend a lot of time behind a desk now. But yeah, I think it's the people that I work with and the family that you make all over the country that become the family when you don't have them here. So, yeah.
Jordan, the Tom Cruise of Williamtown. Are the fighter pilots still the pretty boys in the officers' mess, or what?
It's the first time I've seen him speechless.
I don't know what I'd say to that, but I will say that...
I've never been so pissed in all my life one night at the officers' mess, actually.
2SU's mission it used to be just purely pilot training, but now it's actually grown a little bit. So for the Air Force people, the 278 Squadron used to do the maintenance training, and we've sort of incorporated that now. So we're doing more than pilot training. We train technicians, and in fact, not just technicians, but even the contractors that come onto us to support our IT systems go through as well. And this year, I'm just astounded to know that we've put through like almost 500 people through that technical type training.
If a young person comes into the RAF and wants to be a pilot and gets past point one, qualifies, how do you determine whether he or she becomes a fighter pilot, a bomber pilot, a helicopter pilot, or how do you determine? Is it just their skill levels?
Yeah, it's a combination of their skill level, which there'll be quantitative assessment done on through their pilot training as to what their skill levels are. And you absolutely need to want to do it as well. So, the individual highlights to the organisation that I really want to do this. The organisation says, yes, you have we believe you can do this and have the potential to do this, and then you're lucky enough to get the opportunity.
Tim, it sounds, obviously the fighter pilots are probably the jewel in the crown in many aspects, but it takes so many different people within the RAF to make it work, doesn't it?
Yeah, as I said, we are at a point now, and we are we're a force of around 13 to 14,000 people now, which anyone who knows their history, that is, orders of magnitude smaller than we were at the back end of World War II. And that's again been very deliberate. It's got leaner and leaner to the point where everyone, as I said before, is contributing directly to that outcome. More than ever before as well, it's not about discrete centres of awesome. So F-35 is great. It really is. It's an astounding aircraft. It's like a spaceship. But by itself, it can do some things sublimely. There's other things that if you mix it with something else, if I mix it with Barb's wedge-tail, or if we throw in a couple of growlers and we even throw in a couple of classic Hornets and maybe some P3s and, think of anything. There's all sorts of other things you can put in there. Sort of mix it around a bit, and the level of combat capability you get becomes exponentially higher. It's really quite eye-watering. And I've never seen that to this level. And so now, we've just opened our new building, our new Westfield shopping centre that's out at the base now. It's beautiful, the Len Waters building. And for the first time in my career, Barb and I sit in the same building, so we can just, hey, we need to chat about something, and down for a cup of tea. I've got the engineering organisations. In fact, both our engineering organisations are there. So again, we're looking at the future. We're looking at now. We're looking at where are we taking things. It just works because we can integrate at a personal level. Because everything's humans, always is.
And I think that's why we're here today with Adam and John's group. The integration of new RAF members that come into Williamtown. They've got to integrate within the community. I know Williamtown had an Aussie Rules team here many years ago. So that would be an important part if you come from South Australia, Western Australia, to come here. The integration would be important.
Absolutely. And again, we often harp on about this. I mean, we are the members of the community as well. I mean, I used to live in a share house just on the hill back there, 20 years ago. And I've lived down there and I've lived out the back there, and this is my fourth time back in Newcastle. This is as home as you get in the Air Force. And it is a bit of a struggle because people don't often like leaving here. If I look around the table at a few of you, we tend to find a lot of people gravitate here. And that's the great advantage we've got now, because we're trying to build this human capital that's going to support the enterprise for a long time. And again, it comes down to having the resource of the people that understand what we do, because it takes years to build that.
Well, Tim, unfortunately, we were going to open up to question time today, but Joe needs to get away, so we're going to dispense with that, unfortunately. But I think you've gained a fabulous insight, and I hope you've gained a fabulous insight into what Tim, Jordan and Elise do. Would you please thank our very special guests, Elise Dade, Jordan Sander and Tim Wilshire.